Insane mother wrecks my house and starves my dog in less than a week. My wife and I were out of town, and I asked my mother to look after our house while we were away. We've had issues before, but I needed someone to look after my dog. She was getting paid for this. Unfortunately, it wound up costing me more than I expected when I came home to find my dog barely fed and my house bizarrely trashed and for some reason repainted. I literally don't know how a person does this much damage in just 5 days. Last week, my wife and I traveled to a music festival for about 5 or 6 days. My mom needed money, and I needed a dog sitter, so I hired my mom for an agreed-upon price to take care of things while we were away. We cleaned the house prior to leaving, left her with strict instructions for what to do with our Great Dane, stocked the fridge, wrote the Wi-Fi and desktop passwords down for her, and prepaid her so she'd have some money. Fast forward to yesterday. We arrived to find lots of things had been done to our home, and it sent me into a fit. My wife and I are 30-somethings who just bought our very first house together, and it was bought remodeled and to our likings. The list of damages is as follows. Every wall in the house had been painted with a color that did not match our normal paint scheme. The job was also incomplete and patchy in most areas. The previous paint was totally fine and only 7 months old. Several electrical outlet covers were missing, still don't know why. At least 100 plus cigarette butts in my rose-potted plant out front. Items missing or moved, pictures hung in holes in walls. We did not intend on hanging anything yet until we decided on where we wanted things. A shop light was run over the kitchen table and tacked to the wall. A 6-foot ladder was laid on vinyl records, destroying 3 of them in the process. A spare house key was made by my mom's boyfriend. Now I feel like I must change my locks. Indoor dog bed was thrown in the mud. Duct tape was found over the motion detectors and doorbell. Not to mention the whole reason I needed her in the first place, the dog. He usually sleeps indoors and comes in frequently for heat breaks when outside, but he'd been left out back seemingly the entire time we were gone. He was barely fed, and his dog bed is caked in mud and rain to the point I feel it necessary to toss it in the garbage now. Naturally, I lost my head and my cool. I immediately started yelling about the fact that this is not their home. It was not okay for them to treat our home like it was theirs, doing whatever flights and fancy entered their brains. I almost suspect a binge of some type of illicit substance. That's the only thing I can rationalize their thought processes with. The entire time, my mother refused to accept responsibility for their actions. She began to cry and called me ungrateful. I feel like I'm being gaslit by my own mother for being upset. Our relationship is now tarnished even further than it was, and my wife doesn't want her back here. The scenario has played in my mind countless times, and I feel completely awful about yelling at her. But it's the complete lack of accepting responsibility on her part that has me fuming, on top of acting like nothing was even amiss. Am I the jerk here, or was I justified in my right to be upset? Help me see clearly. Update 1. I have completely ghosted my mom and blocked her cell number. I have changed the locks and begun the process of fixing my home out of pocket. I have not found any substance-related items, yet. My dog is back to his chipper self and is scheduled for a vet visit tomorrow. Update 2. We've been doing inventory at home, and it seems we're both missing a rather large number of items. I can no longer feel like I should just burden myself with financial stress, and therefore we're moving forward with the police report and then charges to follow. My mother still hadn't responded to my texts prior to blocking her, and hadn't offered any sort of resolution or shown remorse for her actions. So I have officially turned my back on her and will remain in a permanent state of no contact. Update 3. Police report filed. Our home insurance will receive the report and act accordingly. Hopefully. Aside from the fact that he doesn't really understand what gaslighting is, everything this original poster feels is 100% justified. It doesn't matter if it's your mom or a total stranger, nobody has the right to make decisions about your home. Repainting and hanging pictures was already crossing a boundary, but removing sockets and breaking records, that's just extra. And since she was technically getting paid for dog sitting, she did all this damage without even earning the money OP paid her in advance. Commenters have a lot of ideas about what might be going on here. Like OP suggests, substance use is probably at the heart of it. He didn't find any evidence, but why would he? It's probably all in their lungs by now. Some have gone as far as to suggest that the paint job was part of an effort to hide a body. That seems a little extreme, but when someone goes this nuts on your house in just a few days, I guess you shouldn't underestimate what they're capable of. What do you think happened in this house? And is he the jerk for calling the police on his own mother? Leave a comment and let us know your thoughts. Random jerk ruins my love life by recording a private conversation. I'm 23, and the barmaid I've been in love with and pining after for about a year finally agreed to go for a drink with me after ages of chasing her. She wasn't sure because she's 29, but I talked her into it. I slept with her that night, and it was literally the best lay I've ever had in my life. I agreed to meet her at work the next day. I was on cloud 9. This was where it all went wrong. The next day, I was waving at her at the end of the bar, and she waved back. The guy next to me goes, "You know her?" He seemed friendly enough, and I needed to talk to someone about it, as I'd already told all my mates. I told him, "Actually, yeah, I slept with her last night. Best pooch I've ever had in my life. She's just wild." I told him so many personal details about her, pretty much everything. Then later that night, I saw the guy showing her his phone and glaring daggers at me. She looked at me, started crying a bit, then looked angry and refused to talk to me at all or serve me. I didn't know the guy at the bar was her childhood best friend, and he had recorded a good deal of me bragging about sleeping with her. The snake showed her the footage, and now she point-blank refuses to talk to me. She's blocked me on Facebook, blocked my number, and every time I try calling her on a mate's phone, she just hangs up. It's so cruel. I had her, finally, and then her mate pulls that on me? It's not fair. I love this girl, and nobody will ever treat her as well as I could have, until he ruined it. I cry about this almost daily ever since. It's taken away all the joyful memories of sleeping with her that night because all I can think of is what I've lost. I can't even brag to my friends about it anymore because the memory is tainted. I need to convince her to give me another chance. I said literally nothing bad about her. When I was talking about the whoopee we made, it was nothing but compliments. But she doesn't see it that way, apparently, and said to my brother, who I sent over to apologize for me, that if I was really her friend, then I wouldn't be bragging about her to random strangers at her workplace, and that I've apparently proven I'm nowhere near mature enough for her. It was one mistake. I didn't know he was her friend, let alone recording me. It's so cruel that I finally got her, then had her snatched away from me. I passed her in the street the other day, and as soon as she saw me, she crossed over. She can't even look at me, and it's not fair. I just want a second chance. She won't even serve me at the bar anymore and refuses all contact with me. I just want to make it up to her, but have no idea how when she won't even talk to me. It's almost cute that this OP thinks nobody will ever treat this woman as well as him. All it takes is for a man to keep their private life private, and he's already treated her 100 times better. I get that guys do this a lot. It's gross how many guys have shown me unsolicited pictures of women who probably didn't know they were being photographed, or at least didn't know their boyfriend's roommate would be seeing it. But this guy had already bragged to everyone he knew and felt like he still needed to keep talking about it at the bar where she works. Now he's crying like a child about love, a feeling he doesn't seem to know much about, given his main regret is that he doesn't get to enjoy bragging about her intimate details anymore. On the off chance any guy who's made the same mistake really does want to change, let me give you some advice I think most women in the comments will agree with. Do not ask for a second chance. Definitely don't call her from other people's phones after she blocked you. The issue here isn't that you didn't know the guy was violating your privacy, it's that you were already violating hers. Stop going to that bar and leave her be. If you want to make it up to her, do it by treating the next girl better. Your love life doesn't have to be over, but it needs a serious overhaul. I can't brush my teeth because my husband won't stop pooping. So my husband likes to poop in our bathroom, and he usually poops right in the morning and right before bed. He only wants to poop in our bathroom. He likes it better. It's roomier, has big windows, etc. The problem is that the times when he goes to poop are times when I also need to use the bathroom. We have the same sleep schedule, so right in the morning and before bed, I need to brush my teeth and get dressed. I need the bathroom. We have another bathroom, and I want him to poop in there. He thinks I should just wait until he's done pooping, but then our bathroom stinks for like 10 minutes. I don't want to smell his poop stink while I brush my teeth, or sit on a warm toilet seat. I have about 30 products I need to use every morning. There's no room for my stuff in the other bathroom. It only has a small cabinet, and the sink is only a basin, no counter. So I'd have to carry my stuff over every morning and set everything on the floor so he could have a window while he poops. Am I the jerk for wanting him to poop in our other bathroom? I couldn't read most of the comments on this one because it was too hard to see through the tears of my own laughter. But supposedly, the husband is lactose intolerant. He keeps eating dairy, and this allegedly makes him take longer in the bathroom. I have my doubts. There's definitely a more plausible reason a man would take a long time in the bathroom right after waking up. You know what I mean. And it makes more sense, because this isn't really how lactose intolerance works in my experience. He should be out of that bathroom in 30 seconds tops. The stench will be so weaponized, OP could smell it from the other bathroom, but that's all the more reason for him to use the one with the window. Either way, OP's not the jerk here, even though I think she'd be grateful for the warm toilet seat once December rolls around. But she might want to buy her husband some Lactaid. Misogynist husband thinks staying home to raise his children is an economy class job. My husband and I, both in our 30s, haven't been on a trip out of the country for years. While he goes every year with his best friend, they both go to attend for the very specific reason of attending sporting events. This year, my husband told me I could go with him and his friend since they were visiting a new destination. He paid for my ticket and everything else since I'm a stay-at-home mom and have no job. The kids were left with my mom. However, then I found out that he had booked first class for himself and his friend while I got an economy seat. I just couldn't hold my tongue. I confronted him about it, and he, at first, refused to discuss it. Then, when the argument got heated, he yelled, "I paid for your ticket, for fudge sakes! Isn't that enough?" Then he kept on about how I should stop acting like I was royalty, and that if I come to think about it, even economy is fine for me, since I technically don't work anyway. I cried because of what he said, but decided to just not go altogether. He changed his tone and started begging me to just go with what he planned, but I declined. I went to pick the kids up from my mom's house, and he came back 3 hours later, huffing and buffing about what happened. His friend sent me a text calling me entitled, and said this was the reason why he didn't want my husband to take me with them, and that I had just proved his point. I did not respond, but I blocked him since he's gotten increasingly rude over the past few months. My husband said I keep crying about being excluded, and this is what happens when he finally decides to include me. Am I the jerk for not settling for economy? By the way, he's perfectly capable of financing the trip. No, OP, you're definitely not the jerk, although I strongly suggest ignoring the comments on your own post. In an effort to surprise absolutely no one, the detectives over in the Reddit comments have decided that the husband is clearly gay and goes on these trips to be with his lover while OP plays babysitter. This doesn't make sense, seeing as the husband was the one who invited OP on the trip in the first place, and he pretty much begged her to go. But once the horde makes up its mind, good luck getting them to see reason. Instead, the issue here is simply that OP married a jerk, and like most jerks, he has jerk friends. They like hanging out and doing jerk things. It doesn't mean they're jerking each other, they're just going around enjoying a reality where their women are defined solely by what goes into or comes out of her legs, and how well she coddles each. Men like this love being the breadwinners, because the "it's my money" excuse never runs dry. But there are plenty of men who'd be glad to share equally with the woman responsible for keeping their children alive. It might be time for OP to go out and find one. Am I the jerk for screaming at my girlfriend for making delicious macarons? I've been dating my girlfriend Rosie for a year now. Rosie and my mother do not get along, just due to the fact that their personality differences are so large. My mom is a more conservative and reserved person, and Rosie is the opposite of that. My mom is a really picky person and has never been happy with anyone I've dated over the years, but I usually ignore her because it's not her life. Yes, I always shut down my mother's snarky comments about anyone I date. On to the problem. Tomorrow night, my mother is hosting a dinner party for everyone in our family. I'm not sure about other families' cultures, but usually when we throw dinner parties, everyone will bring something. I thought this was the perfect time for Rosie and my mom to get along better. I told Rosie that she should make something. I made a lasagna. My mother hates anything sweet, so I told Rosie to refrain from baking any desserts. Rosie said she wanted to bake something because it's what she does best when it comes to the kitchen. I told her to look up a recipe on Google. She was quiet. About an hour later, I came downstairs because I could smell something sweet, and I found Rosie piping macaron batter. I freaked out. I started yelling about how I specifically told her not to make anything sweet because this was her one chance to get on my mother's good side, and I feel like she only made the dessert to be petty. She got upset and told me not to raise my voice at her, and that she was not doing it to be petty. She said she just doesn't care what my mother thinks of her, and that my mother is not the only guest at the dinner party. I got frustrated and made the mistake of telling her to stay home instead, and she told me that she would. Now she says that she will not go no matter what, even if I change my mind. I regret telling her to stay home because if she doesn't go, my mother will really not like her. But am I the jerk for telling her not to bake something sweet? Not only is OP the jerk, but he's kind of dense. I've made desserts for people who hated sweets, and they went over well. We had a good enough relationship that they were willing to try anything I made. Since OP's mom and girlfriend don't have that relationship, he's not the jerk for being concerned. However, he's kind of naive to think that making a savory food is going to somehow fix the rift between them. And he is the jerk for giving her orders based on his own fears. He's also the jerk for being presumptuous. He saw his girl baking and just assumed it was for the party. It was, but he didn't know that. She could have already bought ingredients before he went around telling her what to do, and figured she may as well use them for herself before Googling some other recipe that would have required her to go out shopping again. Since this issue keeps coming up lately, let me say it again. Any woman whose boyfriend doesn't enjoy being well-fed will have no problem finding a man who does. It's not this girl's fault if OP's mom hates her more for not going to the party. He made his own bed at this point. He may as well lie in it while he can, because his bed's going to be empty the moment that girl realizes she can do better. What do you think? Can food really fix a relationship between a man's mom and his partner? Or was he dumb to think what she made even mattered at all? Leave us a comment and let us know how you deal with this problem. Click on one of the videos you see on the screen now, or a Karen will sue you.